Hi, my name is Ramon. I'm the founder of Casuarina Consulting. I have an MBA from the University of Amsterdam, and today I just wanted to sit down and discuss the Iran war and speak about how that is potentially pushing the world to a future of clean energy. So, primarily, I wanted to talk about something that I think most people are not connecting. You've seen the war in Iran on the news. You've probably seen fuel prices go up, or probably experienced that. Definitely experienced that at the pump, or maybe it could be your electricity bill, or even at the supermarket. And I think most people see these two things and they don't necessarily uh, connect them in the way that they should. I mean, as of right now, it's still quite early days, and some shocks are expected later on. And if they do, they think, okay, the war is bad, prices are gonna go up, and that's just how it works. Maybe they come down later on. But I wanted to push on that a little because I don't think that's how it has to work. And I think that people who benefit from believing that, are very happy to keep believing it. And here's what really happened because the U.S. and Israeli airstrikes disrupted the Strait of Hormuz, and well, it's a stretch, as you know, of water around like 33 kilometers wide at its narrowest, and it flows through it a fifth of the world's energy supply. So, given its closure, one fifth is gone just overnight, and prices jumped to 14% in a single week, and European diesel went up around 30%. Pakistani schools closed. The Philippines also ordered a 4-day work week, for instance. Governments are really feeling the hit. And here's the thing: so these countries didn't necessarily do anything wrong, and they just happen to be dependent on a resource controlled by a region that's currently engulfed in war. So, what happened next? Because it gets a little interesting here. The EU, the same EU that said it was moving away from Russian energy after the Ukraine invasion, quietly started buying Russian LNG again, and it was up by 12% in February alone. And Venezuela, a country under heavy U.S. sanctions, is steadily, back at the table as a supplier. And across Asia, countries that have started reducing coal are burning again to keep the lights on. So let me ask you something. The same governments that told you clean energy was too expensive, too slow, or too idealistic, those same governments are now buying oil from Russia and reopening coal plants. And well, this is really what dependence looks like, right? When it's under pressure, it goes back to whatever it can get. But now everyone is in that position. Spain and Portugal, heavy in renewables, actually saw electricity prices fall during the crisis, while everyone else was panicking. In the US, if you drive an electric car and charge it at home, you're paying the basically the equivalent of about $1.50 per gallon, while your neighbor, well, they drive diesel or gas. They watch prices hit $4 and climb. Now let's speak about China, which I think is one of the most important stories here. Is operating from a completely different position. So, more than 50% of new cars sold in China are currently now electric. They spent decades reducing their fossil fuel exposure, and when the neighbors came asking for help during the crisis, China didn't offer oil, it offered solar panels, wind technology, and EVs. So, Chinese solar exports doubled in March, and EV exports went up actually despite tariffs. China is essentially saying to the region, we have the alternative and now you need it. Meanwhile, Donald Trump paid a French company $1 billion to abandon offshore wind farms, go back to fossil fuel projects. We also seen the serious cutbacks with the EPA as well. And this is $1 billion to essentially go backwards, right? And that tells you everything about where interests actually lie. Now, I want to take a step back and zoom out for a second because the war gets the cameras. The oil prices also captures the headlines, But below all of this, there are things that barely even make news throughout this. So, climate news specifically has reportedly fallen 38% from its 2021 peak, and it was down another 14% last year. This collapse doesn't necessarily film well. I mean, at the end of 2025, scientists confirmed that the first climate tipping point had been crossed. Coral reefs now over 83% in irreversible bleaching gone. Earlier this year as well, you may have seen it, you may have not seen it. The UN declared we are in an era of water bankruptcy. It's not a water crisis anymore. It's a era of water bankruptcy. So this means that the reserves we are currently drawing on won't come back. So I want to say that the Strait of Hormuz at some point, hopefully, will reopen and oil will start to flow again. But stuff like coral, it doesn't simply come back. And aquifers don't simply just refill the same way oil will start to flow again. And this is what I really wanted to leave you with. The war didn't create this problem per se. It was a catalyst for sure, but not the full creation. It just made the impossible harder to ignore. So every country that is hurting right now is hurting because of a choice, and basically a choice to stay dependent on something that can be switched off by a conflict. You know, heavy dependent on geopolitical risks. And every country that is holding steady right now made a different choice. The question then isn't really about clean energy anymore. It's about what you want to be dependent on and whether you want to be dependent at all. So the UN climate secretary said something and I just want to note it as well. He said renewables offer energy that can't be held captive by narrowing shipping straits or global conflicts. So essentially the sun doesn't just flow through the Strait of Hormuz, right? And here at Casuarina Consulting, as well as the Planet X Business Collective, this is the kind of conversation we think needs to happen, and I want to have with you more often. So you can follow us here, also on Substack or TikTok, and stay tuned for more.